right, so in this session, what we're going to talk about is monitoring your plan. By this stage, what should happen is that you've got a plan out there in your business. We've started to implement our changes. We've started to put it out there and see what's happening. And that's what we now need to do, is find out, well, what is happening, okay? We've gone ahead and we started to move. So now we need to see, are we getting further towards our destination or what's happening out there? So what we start to think about is obviously is, well, you know, where is the monitoring needed? So first thing is, you know, what are we going to look at? Okay, so which areas of our business or which areas of our activity are we going to start to look at and say, well, you know, how's that progressing? Is it doing okay? Could it be our budget? Could it be our staffing levels? Could it be our productivity? Okay, so where or more to the point, what do we need to look at to see whether we're succeeding in our plan or not? Is it we're heading towards a timetable or whatever that happens to be? But we're trying to get to, at this point, what is the measurement we need to be taking? Okay, so then we start to get down to what is the specific measure? Okay, so if we've started to think about our productivity, that's what we're going to monitor. Well, what specifically are we going to measure? If we were a takeaway store, and we want to measure, you know, how many meals we sell, are we going to look at, well, how many hamburgers do we sell every day? Is it going to be how many cups of coffee our restaurant sells? Is it going to be the number of sales we make on a daily basis? Are we going to measure a particular line of our product? Okay, so what is it we want to pick up there? Okay, so then what we have to do is we start to look at a comparison. And the comparison is, well, what do we expect to be doing? Okay, so how many did we plan? If I've just set up a new cafe and I planned on selling, you know, 200 cups of coffee a day, I need to look at, well, you know, is it happening? So I need to compare with what was my target, perhaps. Okay, my target or my goal. Anything that we want to do, we want to be able to work out some sort of measurement so we can see whether we're achieving that or not. Okay, and then the last thing we need to do is, once we have that information, we need to start taking action. Okay, we're not just monitoring it for fun. There's a purpose for that, and the purpose is to make sure that we're achieving our target, reviewing our target, or it's starting to work out the process of where to go next. Okay, because we're not just going to go, yay, we hit our target, fantastic, let's stop. All right, so different measurements that we might start to look at are things like our customer satisfaction. Okay, that's an important one there, because we want to make sure that the customers, we might be selling a lot of product, but if people don't like what's happening, they might be trying us out, but what will happen is they won't come back. So we need to make sure that our customers are happy, that they've got it. You know, they might have some criticism about the product, but if they're not happy with the service, they're not going to be a repeat customer. We might be looking at financial gain. Okay, so if the first one, we might look at customers, you know, their satisfaction. We might look at the finances. You know, are we achieving the number that we said we wanted to? Are we, you know, is enough income coming in, and are our expenditures correct? You know, because that's the other thing, income, expenditure, you know, two different things we might look at them separately. We might look at, you know, what's our growth like? Okay, so, you know, how many new customers are we going to get? How quickly are we growing? What's happening here? What's taking place? We might look at our innovation or learning. So, you know, are we achieving the goals that we set out to achieve? Are we coming up with new products? Are we coming up with new ideas? Or are we a bit stagnant? And we might also look at, you know, operations. So that is, you know, if we have a company that says that that we have a 24-hour turnaround, that in fact we have 24-hour turnaround times on things. If we say we can do a certain amount of things by a certain time, that we are actually achieving that. And that can be anything from, you know, mailing things out. It could be from, you know, people coming to you with an inquiry. We say the inquiry get dealt with in a certain time. We're starting to look at, well, is anything going wrong with our processes? And the last thing we look at is people commitment. Okay, so we might start making measures around, you know, just how committed are our people. And when we say that, a lot of people say, oh, well, that's going to be a hard one to measure, but not really. We look at our retention rate of our key personnel. Are staff generally satisfied? Are they staying with the company? Are they leaving the company? Are people generally happy at work? You know, we can get that. The fact that they turn up to work every day doesn't mean they're happy about being at work every day, and that's a totally different thing. Don't confuse those two. What will happen though is over time you'll start to see things like absenteeism. where people are just, maybe being ill or whatever it happens to be. The old chuck a sickie is a thing. And obviously we've seen that happen, and if people aren't really committed, it becomes easier and easier to find a reason not to drag themselves out of bed on a wet and rainy Monday morning. So we need to start thinking about, well, how are we engaging with those people and how are we making sure that our workplace is somewhere they want to go to. So what will eventually happen is we will find that when we start to do this, we'll have our plan of what we wanted from all these things. This was the idea. Well, what we'll actually find is we'll have the situation. So we'll know what the outcome was. We start to measure it and we'll find we've got an answer. Over here is what we wanted. And somewhere in the middle, we're going to have some sort of gap, okay? So we need to start to look at some sort of gap analysis and understand, well, hang on, this is what we wanted to achieve, what we want to achieve, this is what we have achieved, and why is there a difference? Or if there is a difference, what are we going to do about it? And sometimes a lot of these things do come down to, if there's a problem, particularly with your operations, etc., it might be that you need to think about training your people. A lot of these things, if they're not well understood, even on what you're about to measure, if they don't understand how the measurements work, what will happen is garbage in, you'll get garbage out. If people don't know what to put in there, they'll put whatever in there, and then you're going to get strange answers that don't make any sense. So garbage in, garbage out is something to be really careful of. So we need to sometimes sit down and think about, well, how are we going to train and develop our people that they understand what's going on, they understand what's being measured and monitored, and that way we can derive some good outcomes. So we need to think about what are the training methods we're going to put in place. Are we going to have briefings for our people? Are we going to make sure that we're putting out information sheets? Are we going to have as part of formal lessons? Are we going to get together every morning and talk about what's going on? So that way we can get some really good feedback and information from them. Are we going to use different mentoring techniques? Are we going to give them mentors and coaches to assist them and guide them? Are we going to use online training platforms? There's a whole range of ways that we can make sure that we're measuring these things and then providing the training and feedback to start to meet and actually begin to exceed those targets. But it all comes down to, first of all, getting a really good idea of what is going on, okay? And then making sure that if there's a shortfall, if we're not making enough money, is that a sales problem? Are we not selling enough? Does that become the training thing? If we're not growing fast enough, do all of our key staff understand what the products are that we're offering or how we're offering it? And more to the point, sometimes it's our customers that we have to train. Okay, we have to make sure the information's out there for them as well. How are we going to make sure our customers know about our full range of products? Now, the thing about that is that it's never the customer's responsibility to know what all your products are. Okay, it's never the customer's responsibility to understand your business. They're the customer. It's the responsibility of your people to be able to convey the right things for those customers and help the customers come to an informed decision. So if it is about training your customer, it's going to be done through your people. If it's going to be done through your people, they need to understand it first. If they're going to understand it first, you need to start thinking about your training and development so that you can push them through from the situation you've got to where you want them to be. And that means you need to be able to then track and monitor what's going on at an organisation so that you can see whether that's happening or not. And if it's not, getting information about why, and then actually starting to push that back through the channel again and make the changes you need to make. All right, so that's really what we're starting to consider when we're thinking about our monitoring. Thank you very much.